I have 6 o'clock. The February 10th, 2026 Rochester Board of Education Public Forum is hereby called to order. Please call the roll. Yes.
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 Here.
Yes.
Yes.
Please stand and face the flag while we recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Okay, before we start, I have a few remarks, and then Mr. Taft's going to explain some more about the financial situation. The board wants to thank everyone who has taken the time to share comments, questions, concerns, and suggestions via email or the Google question link that was set up by the district office. There's no perfect way to gather and share feedback. Despite that, we hope that seeing the questions of others and the responses from the district staff has been helpful. We are providing tonight's forum for yet another way to provide us with feedback. We wish to hear from as many people as possible in the next 2 hours. We want to thank those who have grouped together and coordinated to designate a spokesperson. We were going to be allowing 3 minutes, but I only have, looks like 15 people signed up, so I'm going to give the full 5 minutes if we're going to stick with the 15 people, because we should still be out of here in 2 hours. This is an emotional topic, and it does prompt a lot of people to speak, and we do want to hear every word. We apologize in advance for the jarring sound of the timer, because that's what will cut you off. We do wish to focus tonight's time to listen to your valuable feedback, and so we will not be responding to comments nor answering questions. That's what the Google link is for, and then you should be getting responses to your emails. Additionally, we are collectively thanking all of those who are participating tonight. I'm doing that now in case I forget to thank each individual person, because we're going to try to go fast. Finally, we are fortunate to live in a community that has a wide variety of passions. Every single area that is being considered for reduction has been championed. Someone has taken the time to write about how wonderful every potentially impacted teacher or staff member has been to them, or how important their function is. We are truly lucky to have amazing staff. We on the board, too, have stories about the meaningful impact hardworking and passionate Rochester staff members have had on our own kiddos. This adds a level of anguish to decisions we have to make. The entire board takes this responsibility seriously. We have continued to study and restudy the financial projections, as well as take all gathered input and research to heart. We humbly ask for your patience while we work to find the most stable and least harmful path forward, one that will prioritize Rochester students, staff, and community, both present and future. Mr. Taft?
Thanks, Amy. So Amy asked me to speak on the finances a bit, just to help provide some clarity. I think this board broadly has committed to transparency to this community in every way possible. And I think that starts with finances. We all want to know exactly where our money is being spent and how it's being spent. Historically, we've gotten budgets and numbers in front of both the board and the district broadly, and as well as the community, that are a little bit cumbersome to understand. It comes from a state template, if you will, to understand the budget. For anybody just looking at it, it's very difficult to follow along what's actually happening. So one thing we did as a finance committee is asked the district staff to put together a more clear and concise view of the financial condition for the district. They put together some history in terms of what the fund balances have looked like, what our revenues and expenditures are, and then we obviously put down on paper what this year is projected to be. We passed those budgets, and then we also go a step further and have asked for projections out into the future so that we understand what things look like out forward. So with that, we've asked Rolf to put that financial condition out and forecast out on the district website at the same spot that you find the budget deficit reduction plan. So if you want, you can pull it up on your phone. I apologize, we don't have it up here. I don't think it would have looked right just because it's a spreadsheet on a big screen. It probably would have been too small, but you can follow along. And as always, you're welcome to reach out to any of us with questions, in particular Don and I on the Finance Committee. But the first thing, I'll just kind of walk through the constructs of what that forecast looks like. And what you'll see is there's a top section, if you guys are looking at it, and that top section is our revenues broken down by fund. The middle section is our expenditures broken down by fund. So that's the revenue on the top side is the money that we take in. The expenditures in the middle section is what comes out of the school's funds. And then the bottom section is the fund balances. So the way I think about that is simply like a bank account, right? We have money comes into the bank, money goes out of the bank, and at the end of the day, we've got a certain amount of reserves left in the bank account. Each of these different accounts, which we have 9 of them, I believe, have to balance themselves. We can't move money freely between all buckets. There are some buckets that we have some ability to flex in and out of and move money to and from, but for the most part, a lot of those things are somewhat restrictive. So that's one thing to note about when we look at the financial condition. We have to understand how we're going to be able to balance each of those different funds. I will call attention, probably the biggest fund that we have is the education fund. That's where our salaries, supplies, and some benefits are paid in and out of. The other thing that I want to call attention to is the capital projects fund, just because there's been a significant amount of activity in that fund over the last several years with all the projects that we've done. So as you look through this sheet, you can see the different columns represent a different fiscal year. 2025 AFR is our 24-25 school year, so it would have started in July of 24 and ended in June of 2025, just so we know what timetable we're looking at. So that's last year. That fiscal report has been audited. Our auditor came and spoke to us, I believe it was at the December meeting, and spoke to the financial condition of what she had seen at that point in time. And she said we were stable, which is true. The challenge with looking at that is looking at things in arrears. That is looking backward and not forward, and not really in the present at that time. So what you would have seen, and I've had different questions get brought up about this, and it is confusing. When you look at 2025 and you look at the ending fund balance, and you look at relative to how much we spent that year, it's a pretty good ratio. So we look at how many days of cash on hand relative to how much money we spend. And that ratio is about 250 days, which is well exceeds what we would normally consider an adequate reserve. The problem with that is when you dig into the details, what you'll see is a lot of that money was sitting in the capital projects fund. So that capital projects fund is money that is there waiting to be spent on the projects that we are working on. So that was well forecasted, well understood that that money would be coming out. A vast majority of that money would be coming out in fiscal year 26 as we finished these projects. So if you're just looking at the ratio and the days of cash on hand for that particular item or that particular year, when you add them all together, that really doesn't tell the whole financial picture. As we move into 2026, what I would call the attention to is major changes as we actually make the spending in for those remaining capital items. Again, those were well forecasted, so we understand what that looks like. But when we look into the revenue that comes in, we recognize that we are seeing a significant drop in revenue, particularly what comes into the education fund. The majority of that is ESSER funds that were, or essentially COVID money that Rolf spoke to at the January board meeting, and that money has gone away. Additionally, as we look at 2026, we try to get a baseline for where our cost structure looks like, as well as what we can expect for revenues going forward now that we don't have a significant amount of capital projects. And what we see is as we go forward from 26 to 27 and 28, we expect our expenditures to go up at probably the rate of inflation or a little bit above. And I think that's somewhat to be expected just because inflation hits everyday life all across the board. There's some probably additional items that are going to hit us a little bit harder when you think about insurance, when you think about energy costs and things like that. we're probably weighted to those items a bit more. And so broadly speaking, our cost structure is going up at inflation or a higher amount than that. That's certainly what we forecast. For the revenue side of things, what we expect to see is an unfortunate circumstance coming from the state level. The state funding is likely not going to increase. We're likely going to be flat at best for state funding, and that makes up, I don't know, probably 40% of our total revenue. We do have local sources, that's our property taxes that we expect to go up, more closely aligned with inflation. But when you look at the total revenues going up because of that state piece, it will not go up at the rate of inflation. So broadly speaking, we're going to have our cost structures go up more significantly than what we expect our revenues to go up. So that creates bigger and bigger budget deficits every single year. So with that, when we look out forward and we really try to understand where's the main pain points in terms of our fund balances, we look closely at that education fund, like I said, which has the majority of our activity in it. When I look at that, it looks like we have 138 days of cash on hand at the end of fiscal year 2025. So that was last year. We moved to 125 days based on the projections for this year. Next year we go down to under 100 days. And then fiscal year 28, so that would be the 27-28 school calendar year, we go to 67 days. So that is what the Finance Committee and the board more broadly is looking at as being a very serious condition and why we're having these discussions today. I think one other item that we do have to consider and something that we're not preparing to take significant action on today is that we have some significant bond payments just a little bit further out than these projections, out in 2031 and 2032, that we just have to have in the back of our mind that those are going to need to be funded at some point in time. So those are other things that we're taking a look at. The last item is we do have some additional capital spending that may come up through our health life safety survey, and so we have to be prepared for that as well. With that, I'll pause there and let Amy take over.
Because we changed our public comment policy just last month, I was asked to review some of the items on it. When you come up, please identify yourself so we know who's speaking. Of course, I'll be calling your name. Observe the decision to shorten public comment if we need to. We can skip that. Then I want to go on to a designated spokesperson should be chosen. Please conduct yourself with respect and civility towards others and otherwise abide by board policies. Petitions or written correspondence we will present to the board in the next regular board packet. It shall be the policy of the board not to discuss persons or personnel by name except in executive session in a manner that could be viewed as speaking disparagingly, unless board action or the superintendent's recommendation of the board makes it necessary. Additionally, it shall be the policy of the board not to discuss individual students by name during public session in a manner that could be viewed as speaking disparagingly. We are now open for public comment. Before I call the first person that signed in, I've noticed that Mr. Clem was able to walk in. Did you want to go first? Or are you going to speak tonight? I wanted to give you that opportunity.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Clem, and I'm co-president of the Rochester Education Association. There's a lot that could be talked about tonight in terms of everything in the deficit reduction plan. However, in the interest of fairness to our entire bargaining unit and not wanting to highlight one area of cuts but neglect another, I will be choosing to focus instead on something that is a general concern to all of our members, and that is what is not in the deficit reduction plan. There are a number of things we believe could be considered for cuts that help save jobs and don't harm students. A number of these have been brought forward through emails by our members and sit-down meetings with REA leadership and Mr. Sievertson, and also in a meeting last night between REA leadership and two board members, Mrs. Curley and Mr. Taft. Programs like Canvas, Magic School, Moby Max, eHall Pass, and others are nice to have, but the money spent on that could be better utilized to help keep positions that directly impact our students on a day-to-day basis. We hope you will consider some of those and the cost savings. Along with that, we have major concerns about programs that, in the midst of apparent financial difficulty, are being purchased or considered for purchase. Things like Solution Tree for professional development and Project Lead the Way for STEM programs, together estimated to be well north of $100,000, seem wasteful and ignorant of the talent and abilities of our current staff we have in the district. These things are not what is best for kids nor our staff, and we know that because staff are not being consulted on their thoughts about them. That is not what leadership should look like in a district. That's more of the same top-down leadership that we've seen fail in the past. Additionally, as I noted 2 weeks ago, those at the district level are not sharing in the pain of these cuts. Yes, the district is noting the elimination of some positions at the district level. However, the positions noted are ones that, prior to 2023, didn't even exist. In reality, while we are looking at returning to building staff levels that haven't been seen in a quarter of a century, the district will continue to operate under top-heavy leadership. We hope you will consider such measures as looking at district administrative positions that we could live without, examining administrative pay and benefits that far exceeds comparable districts in the area, closing the district office and having district staff utilize unused portions of school buildings, including the high school, costly programs and subscriptions that have limited classroom impact, large purchases of supplies, textbooks, and furniture that are not requested by teachers or staff, and more efficiency with electricity usage, which I know we talked about last night. By not examining these types of cuts, you are signaling that there are two types of employees in this district: those on the front lines that are expendable, and those at the top that we cannot live without. I will remind the board and the community as a whole, while it would be difficult, we could survive without district leaders. On the other hand, these buildings don't run without us. These students don't get an education without us. This community is nothing more than a name without the people in these buildings day in and day out giving of themselves to help develop the future. Please keep that in mind. There is a dark cloud hanging over our buildings and our community right now. It is noticeable, and it is hard to not have it affect all of us on a daily basis. While there are going to have to be some difficult decisions made, the main goal for the board has to continue to be minimizing the impact on staff and students. We trust that you will take those responsibilities seriously and will consider our staff and our students. Thank you.
Lisa Wyckoff. Okay, Laura Lauber, you're on deck. Okay. Oh. So do I also have Brittany and
Yeah, although Brittany might be talking, I don't know. Okay. Thank you for letting us do this, by the way. My name is Lisa Jostis Wyckoff. I've been part of this community nearly my entire life, working with and knowing in various capacities former superintendents Jack Taylor, who was my high school sweetheart's dad, Bruce Hayes, who was my principal and boss, and Tom Bertrand. I've been teaching and/or coaching since 1994, and my kids and extended family have all been a significant part of this community and district. Our district's tradition of excellence is falling short in some areas, and I said I might cry, and it's heartbreaking. I know we have some big challenges ahead of us. I'm going to talk about three main things tonight. I would like to talk about everything. Please don't think that I devalue anything on the list, but these are the three top items for me. I'm here first and foremost to speak on behalf of my team of sixth grade teachers. So three out of the six are here. The sixth grade must remain departmentalized. Like most, if not all, districts in central Illinois, we researched it. The proposal to make the sixth grade self-contained can easily be crossed off the list. During the 22-23 school year, the sixth grade team taught using a departmentalized schedule with 5 teachers. And we have proposed a schedule for doing so next year. So please take a look at our letter that we will be sending you, addressing our concerns, and said schedule. Problem solved. Sixth grade is a crucial transitional year where we help the upper elementary students prepare for the more complicated class transitions in junior high. We use a modified schedule under the care of a homeroom teacher. Our sixth grade team not only excels at helping our students move to different classes, subjects, and teachers, but also specializes in their subject area, meeting the academic demands of the more challenging core subjects. Also, because we share students as opposed to self-contained, which if you don't know what that means that we would be the one teacher for the entire class for every subject. We truly are a team of collaborators best able to meet individual needs. Please don't take that away from our students. If the proposal to change the self-contained classes is solely based on 5 teachers because I'm retiring this year and they're not replacing me, there is no need to make any changes. We've already come up with a proposal to make that work. If there is another reason for this proposal, please involve the teachers in the problem solving. My second point, I want to support our high school English department. I spent most of my career in the high school English department until 6 years ago when I moved down to the 6th grade because budget cuts made teaching English, according to the rigor and standard that Rochester was used to, and meeting individual needs nearly impossible. Having 180 students or 210 students that you're trying to teach college writing to, or college prep writing, or even just a regular freshman essay to is very difficult. I implore you to exhaust your research before you get rid of ELA teachers. Exhaust your research to find out what impact that will have on our students and our teachers at the high school level. Find out what it really means to teach writing and reading to our nearly adult students of all levels, life-ready, college-bound, providing our seniors the support, our high school students, the support, the care, the quality of education that Rochester has always had and that they deserve in a world that is constantly changing, especially now with AI. I have a lot more to say about this, but I'm limited on time. I next want to speak, finally, for our teachers. We always joke about everybody should have, like, jury duty, teacher duty. Because unless you have spent any time in a classroom, especially in our modern age, because it sure has changed over my 37 years of being in the classroom, it's impossible to understand what it's like to be in our shoes. The educators and students are the heart and soul of our district. Our children need to know we love them and feel like we have the time for them. We can't do that when we are stressed out with heavier demands placed on us than ever before, and lack of support from social services, technology, and building administrators. I could say a lot about that too. Unfortunately, it feels like some of our decision makers and administrators are out of touch with the classroom teacher. Some, not all. We have some great administrators and some great decision makers in this district, but some, instead of feeling like team members who have more experience and expertise in our ever-changing classrooms than our administrators, we teachers at times feel regarded as inferiors who need to be micromanaged. Please listen to our ideas. Let us problem solve with you. Please try to feel what it's like to walk in our shoes and do what will best serve our students that we pour our hearts and energy into every day. Finally, to our community and district, we have a great school in many aspects and wonderful families and kids. We do have a dark cloud right now, as Kevin said, and it's getting to all of us. But right now, we are struggling. We're forgetting what makes our district effective, safe, and strong. Fill in the blanks. There's so many positive things. I wish that people on the outside could see it. Thank you to our school board members. We know you guys have a hard job and you're donating your time and you have jobs and kids. We truly appreciate you, and many of us pray for you. Please make decisions that will help educators and our students thrive, especially our 6th grade team and our high school ELA teachers, because that's what I'm most passionate about. Thank you.
Okay, so Laura said her time was given to Lisa. That's okay.
Okay.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Brittany Akery. I'm a current 6th grade teacher at Rochester Intermediate School. Before I begin, I want to sincerely thank each of you for your time and your service. I am truly grateful for those sitting in front of me tonight, and I believe that we do have the right board members in place to make this difficult decision our district is facing. I do not take lightly the responsibility you are carrying, especially during this challenging financial time. A few weeks ago, I attended the board meeting during which the presentation happened of the proposed budget cuts and structural changes to our district. While many of those proposals raised serious concerns, particularly the reduction of support staff in our assistant principal position, I was utterly shocked by the proposal to departmentalize the 5th and the 6th grade. And I believe it is important that both the board and the community understand the significant academic impact that this decision would have on all future 6th graders in Rochester. This proposal immediately raised an important question. Why is this change being considered, and how does it address our current budget challenges? That question was later asked during the Q&A portion, and the response was that it does not result in budget savings. The rationale instead provided for this proposal was that departmentalization in 6th grade requires teachers to hold additional endorsements, necessitates 6 teachers to balance the schedule, and affects scheduling across the intermediate school. While it is true that teachers must hold appropriate endorsements when teaching a subject for the majority of their day, that is a significant benefit to our students. Departmentalization allows students to learn from educators who are highly qualified and specialized in their content areas, which directly supports academic rigor and student achievement. Additionally, it was stated that 6 teachers would be required to maintain this structure. However, in 2022 and 2023 school year, we successfully departmentalized with only 5 teachers. Anticipating next year's staffing, we have also created a complete mock schedule demonstrating how departmentalization can continue with the 5 teachers we currently will have next year following Lisa's planned retirement. We will share both 22-23 and next year's proposed schedule with you in our letter that we have written. While I understand the 6th grade scheduling can impact the broader building schedule, this does not mean it is unworkable. Our team's prepared and has already begun that to problem solve potential challenges. The proposed schedule is flexible and can be adjusted as needed to better align with the rest of the school. Its purpose is to demonstrate that maintaining departmentalization 6th grade with 5 teachers is feasible and responsible. Finally, based on a recent survey of comparable school districts via Facebook, 35 out of 36 school districts utilize a departmentalized model in 6th grade. Only 1 does not. Moving away from this structure would place Rochester at an extreme academic disadvantage, not just our financial problem. Before moving forward with this proposal, I respectfully ask the board to consider a few critical questions. Have all scheduling options truly been exhausted? Have all alternative or innovative approaches been explored, such as allowing both 5th and 6th grade to work together in a departmentalization that would actually strengthen instruction rather than move us backward? Again, we as 6th grade team have created a schedule in which we can keep our classes the way they are with 5 teachers. Given that this proposal does not result in budget savings, is this a decision that could be tabled to allow for further discussion and analysis later? And if there are concerns or unknowns related to scheduling or implementation, I ask that you allow the educators who work within this structure every day to be a part of the problem-solving process. We are so ready and willing to collaborate and address any challenges that you have. Please recognize the dedication, expertise, and hard work of our 6th grade team and the commitment we have to maintaining rigor and excellence for the students. I respectfully urge you not to move 6th grade to a self-contained, undepartmentalized model, because it does not result in budget savings, but it does negatively impact student learning. Thank you.
Cheryl Flynn? I have Cheryl Flynn, Steph Zeidler, and Julie Tender. Pete Gigan, you'll be on deck.
I'm Cheryl Flynn. I'm the Director of Technology for the district.
I'm Stephanie Zeidler, 7 through 12 Tech Facilitator. I'm Julie Tender, K through 6 Tech Facilitator.
Before discussing the future of the Technology Department, it's important to understand why it exists. In 2011-12, Dr. Bertrand shared a vision to move beyond traditional textbooks and explore online learning. A pilot program began soon after, followed by full one-to-one deployment for grades 4 through 12. As the initiative expanded, the Technology Department ensured equitable access for all students and continued to build on that vision through instructional technology, STEM, and now AI, in alignment with the district's commitment to excellence in education. That context matters because we're here, to urge the board not to eliminate the entire Technology Department. Not optional. It is the core infrastructure. As a one-to-one district, instruction, state testing, student data systems, communication with families, safety systems, special education services, and compliance reporting all depend on technology working reliably every single day. The proposal assumes that eliminating the Technology Department and outsourcing services will result in meaningful savings. Comparisons that we have done similar to districts suggest that those savings are uncertain. In many cases, outsourcing shifts costs rather than reduces them, while introducing new operation and instructional risks. When technology fails during instruction or testing, there's no workaround. Classrooms stop, assessments disrupted, teachers lose instructional time, and students lose learning opportunities. Without Rochester technology staff who understand our systems and the needs of our staff and students, any short-term financial gain does not outweigh the daily impact on learning. These costs do not appear neatly on a budget line, but they are very real. We must also consider the loss of institutional knowledge. Our technology staff understand our curriculum platforms, building needs, and internal processes. Outsourced vendors do not have that depth of understanding, and staff turnover is common. Vendor decisions are driven by efficiency for their organization, not by what is best for Rochester students and the Rochester School District. Once this department is eliminated, the loss of leadership in instructional technology, STEM, AI literacy, and digital learning would set the district back years. There are responsible alternatives. Instead of removing the people who make our systems work, the district can evaluate existing software programs, eliminate redundancies, and determine which tools are truly essential for instruction. Reviewing licenses and subscriptions can generate savings without dismantling the infrastructure that supports teaching and learning. This decision is not simply about dollars. It is about making careful, responsible decisions that keep our schools functioning. While it has been implied that student programs will not be affected, technology and STEM are valuable programs that directly impact our students. I respectfully ask the board to reconsider this portion of the plan and protect the technology capacity our students and staff rely on every single day. Thank you for your time and your service to this district.
After Pete will be Kevin Flynn.
All right, for everyone who doesn't know me, my name is Pete Geegan. I've been in Rochester for 22 years. My wife and 3 daughters all graduated from Rochester schools. I would like to briefly talk about the proposed cuts to the technology staff. My qualifications, I've worked for the world's largest IT outsourcing company for 36 years. I also started and ran many STEM activities in Rochester, including the upcoming STEM fair. I understand there's tremendous pressure to reduce costs, and there may be a temptation, given the pressure, to simply approve the recommendations as is. It could be viewed as a complicated thing to sort through. But you must not do that for contract technology. My evaluation as an expert in IT outsourcing is that no matter what you need to accomplish in this budget crisis, you already have the best resources possible in your existing technology staff to execute any strategy. You have extremely discounted labor relative to tech industry standards, labor flexibility between teaching and technology work, skills to teach a project lead the way curriculum if you choose to go that direction, an ability to effectively manage IT vendors of any type, and a future that gives the district more IT options on the other side of this crisis. Once you outsource, it's really hard to undo it. Not to mention, and you can plainly see this, the dedication to Rochester and the sense for what matters most to the district as decisions are made on the reductions. Bottom line, outsourcing cannot improve upon that situation that you have right now. So, and for people, after the last board meeting, I provided a 3-page letter detailing my analysis of the outsourcing to the board president and the superintendent, so they have far more details about my view of the, where the opportunities are. Okay? Thank you for your time.
After Kevin, we'll have Matt Zeidler.
My name is Kevin Flynn. I'm the husband of Cheryl Flynn. I'm going to be brief because I was basically ensuring that her message was heard, but I will tell you this. From a perspective of being married to her for 30 years and to see what goes into getting ready every school year for technology, it just doesn't happen. And I am so incredibly proud of Cheryl, Steph, and gosh dang it.
Julie.
Come on, Kevin. I know, sorry, stage fright. But I am so incredibly proud of the technology, the vision that Dr. Bertrand saw. I saw him earlier. And really, I know you guys have a very difficult job, incredibly difficult. Just know that there's a lot of work that goes into it. Thank you very much.
After Matt, we'll have Lydia Hicks.
Good evening. My name is Matt Zeidler. I serve a lot of roles in the district, everything from parent to problem solver to head popcorn maker and soda stocker. Across the board, I meet with a lot of our coaches and make sure those things and our athletes have as much as we possibly can give them. That being said, every dollar is not the same. Every dollar represents something to someone in the district. You have a very difficult choice. back, and we have to look at the situation at hand. You have been presented, which I hope has been done many times before, a business proposition. We are looking at things by the numbers. I like that. I like that in my household. I like that in my business. I like that for the programs and opportunities for my children. That said, I have not seen or heard numbers or concerns for some time. I think you did a great job. You put a lot of numbers on the paper and brought a lot of real things forward in the district. You have a very difficult decision to make on where you're going to draw the line. What is going to make it through for our children and what's not? My concern is that we're making decisions based on numbers and not necessarily on children and their opportunity. 3 people tonight said, we have not had a strong vision and a strong leader in some time. Many of those names are on streets or on buildings, etched literally in stone in this district. I challenge you to, number one, make certain that the next person here has their name attached to something of meaning. And every student and family that chose to move in this district and go through our school has the best education opportunity. I tell you what, there are some amazingly smart people in here that said some awesome things. I won't care to even touch what they can do educationally. But you have to make a decision for our students and understand that every dollar is not a line item. Yes, we have to run a business and we have to have vision future years, but we also can't sacrifice today and the people that we have invested in and put time in significantly to the students that we have here. I thank you.
After Lydia, we'll have Bethany Pothoff.
Hi, guys. Thanks for holding this forum. I appreciate your additional time and attention to all of this and giving us time and space to express some of this, and hopefully not in an email that you have to read. My name is Lydia Hicks. I have a 2025 graduate from Rochester, and I have a current freshman. I worked as a social worker in this district for 5 years, from 2019 to 2024. I have a unique position being inside the school, outside of the school. I also was our band booster president for a year and have volunteered across our fine arts department quite a bit. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I have worked in multiple settings. I've worked in hospitals, emergency rooms, jails, juvenile detention facilities, state-operated mental health facilities. And I want to share with you that my experience here with the leadership and management from the district office was probably the most dysfunctional of leadership and management that I've had across all the systems that I've worked in. District leadership has spent the last 7 years trying to make us look good, but not be good. The issues within the district really originate from the top down, from the district office. There are great leaders in this district. I hope that someone had a conversation with them and asked them to come up with a way to save money, that people were asked how they could cut their budget. I want you to know that you can trust the leaders and the individual schools to give you ideas about cuts and decisions that are specific to the needs of their buildings. I encourage you guys to get into the buildings and visit with staff if you haven't thus far, just to talk to them. The district office does not need to micromanage everything in every building. And unfortunately, that is what has been happening. I don't know if you're aware, but multiple staff have shared concerns about curriculum failing short, but to no avail. Some staff supplement the curriculum, but are too afraid to tell district leaders because they feel it's the only way they have to get students to demonstrate progress on district-wide testing. That's a problem. For a school that's our size and shrinking, we have way too much cost in our district office in salaries and benefits. Please consider cutting those salaries maybe by 20% and not replacing Mrs. Keller's position. Allow building administrators, instructional coaches, and other leaders in those buildings to cover those tasks. I don't know how we need to be hiring for an assistant to the transportation director if we are truly in a financial crisis. I also don't understand how some district office staff got significant raises that were much bigger than anything outlined in the RE8 contract during such a financial crisis. I ask you not to cut $3.1 million now. I ask you to be conservative this year. If salary and benefits are $17 million, you could possibly trim some costs. But I don't know if you've considered ideas like, have you considered a 10% cut of salaries across the district? If our operating budget's $17 million, not that I'm ever advocating for staff to get paid less, but that's $1.7 million if you did a 10% cut across the board, right? I think then you could buy some time to dig into data and see what would really work and what wouldn't. How is this vote going to work? Do you have to vote on all of it or nothing, the whole plan? Are you going to be able to say yes to this and no to that? I hope you guys have the answer to that because I would love to know it. There are a couple of specific things I wanted to talk about. Social work. I'm very passionate about kids and kids' mental health. Suicide rates in adolescents have been on the rise for many years. There aren't enough providers across the state, and currently some families wait months to get into a counselor or psychiatrist. Like it or not, schools become, for some kids, the only place that they receive mental health support and counseling. I want you to please stop and talk to a social worker in one of the buildings before you vote on this. I can't even report on all their numbers, but they have a significant amount of responsibility outside of just counseling that they do, and they gave me the data. I can't go through it unless I had 10 minutes, which you're probably not going to give me. But cutting half of the social work staff from 7 to 3.5, it's too much. They're not going to be able to provide legally required services.
That's the timer. I don't know why it won't stop.
I mean, if I jump, do I get 2 more minutes to finish this? Can I have 2 more minutes?
We don't have very people left to speak. I can give.
Thanks, Amy. I appreciate it. If you do decide that 3.5 social workers can do it for your district, then I would encourage you to look at SASED and outsourcing. I have a contract. I didn't have time today to get all of my handouts to you. I will email them to you. Fine arts cuts. I know it's dear to a lot of your hearts as it is to mine. The auditorium director, we rent out this auditorium at least 12 to 13 times a year at $5,000 a pop. You're going to lose revenue if you don't have an auditorium manager. Those people don't bring their own group, their own auditorium person. There's $1 million on that board, and he's the one who knows what needs to be ordered when and what needs to be replaced. So please consider that. I also want to talk real quick about Dave McCafferty's position. Not filling it at all will be a significant loss to the fine arts department. 5th and 6th grade is a prime time for lessons to make them successful as high school players and musicians. Tawny Roberts, who is the RIS music person with Dave, has worked out a schedule of what things could look like. I don't know if you've seen it. So I encourage you, if you do get into the building, to talk to Tawny Roberts and see how and what she has planned and how things could work. We can also consider the idea of hiring a general music teacher instead of completely replacing what Dave's position is, you could still save $66,000 with hiring a general music educator and not have to sacrifice the learning that those students would have in 5th and 6th grade. So I do ask you to consider that. Block schedule, I just ask that you get a really good plan before you consider that, the pros and cons of it. I don't really know, I can't speak to it, but please know what that will look like, especially for our most vulnerable learners in the high school. Due process, if you haven't looked at the amount that the district is spending on due process, and are those cases being won? Are they being lost? What are we doing there? Thank you for the extra time, I appreciate it.
Okay, next I have Bethany, and after her on deck, I have a student. It's Brady, and I apologize, Brady, I don't think I can pronounce your last name. Is it Lurchenring? Lysenring. Okay, thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for offering this opportunity for this forum and for listening to our concerns. My name is Bethany Potoff, and I have 2 students currently in the Rochester district. I am currently the band booster president, the Disney parent trip coordinator, the incoming magical parent lead, and have been the vice president of and am a current member of the RESPTO. I spend a significant amount of time in these buildings volunteering and observing these students. I've emailed my full thoughts to the board and the interim superintendent, so I won't go into as much detail tonight, and instead we'll just hit on some key points. Lydia and I share a lot of the same opinions. We need to be taking a serious look at how many administrative positions we employ and how those can be consolidated or cut. We should be starting our cuts at the top and holding people accountable. The classroom teachers and fine arts staff didn't put us in this position, and yet they will be the ones to suffer the most. Speaking of fine arts, there are many, many families that chose Rochester for the fine arts program. We had choices when choosing where to raise our families, and many other districts in the area have academic success that's comparable. We chose Rochester for the fine arts program. There's always talk about opportunities for growth in the Rochester area. Please keep that in mind, that our high-achieving fine arts is a huge draw for many people. We tried consolidating the fine arts staff a few years ago. It was hugely unsuccessful and was quickly turned back around the next year. Let's learn from our mistakes and not make the same mistakes again. Our fine arts program would not be nearly as successful without the expertise of Mr. Robert Reynolds. In fact, this meeting wouldn't be possible without him. He does so much more than manage the auditorium, and his talent and skill is needed. He is so valuable that he was recognized last year as the winner of the Impact Award. One of the quickest ways we could be making more money is by advertising and renting out this auditorium space. In order to do that, we need Mr. Reynolds. Last week, I drove around at 7 p.m. and again at 10 p.m. to see how many lights are left on in our buildings and our parking lots. I included pictures in my email, and it's a lot. Can we start shutting off some lights? Can we turn off the scoreboard? I know that's not going to make a huge difference. It's not going to eliminate all the problems, but it's something. I did the math on the block schedule. We keep being told that the instructional time would be the same and that nothing major would be changing. This cannot possibly be the case unless the school day will be a different length of time. In order to accommodate passing periods and transition times for more classes each day, students will be losing 69 hours of instructional time through a year. That's not nothing. In addition to that, you will be asking every single high school teacher to rework their entire curriculum and lesson plans. I am asking that we start with small cuts and changes to make it work for next year and take some time to research what's working and where other cuts have to be made before jumping into massive cuts immediately. Please help us do the least amount of damage to our students and our staff. Thank you.
After Brady, Leah Brock, you're on deck.
Hi, my name is Brady Leixenring. I'm a junior here at Rochester High School. I was 7 when my family moved here. They decided to move me and my sisters here because Rochester offered the best educational and athletic opportunities in the area for the cost. This is evident in years like 2024, when Rochester was rated the second best school in the Springfield area. Just last year, in the Springfield area. Just last year, we had a graduation rate of 93.3%, and that is over 4% higher than the state average. From 2020 to 2023, the average graduation rate in Rochester was 94.6. I believe that if you go through with the full reduction plan, there will be severe and continuous consequences. My sophomore year, I tore my ACL, and through the surgery and all the physical therapy, the only reason I did not fall behind was because of the block schedule. I know that for many of my peers, the added stress will cause grades and test scores to drop. As students will have a harder time managing the new workload from having the same classes every day. I also know that many of my peers are going to avoid taking certain opportunities because of the fact that they will have the class every day and for a shorter time. While the effects on the students will be bad, I feel as though the effects this will have on the teachers will be even more extreme. Not only will the reduction in staff cause teachers to have to say goodbye to many colleagues they would call their friends, but they will also need to have larger class sizes, which will, in turn, add unneeded stress. This stress may cause some to look for better, less stressful opportunities elsewhere. Also, many teachers here teach multiple courses, and with these reductions, many of those classes will vanish from our curriculum. They also mentioned enrollment being an issue in the doc they sent out, but these reductions will only cause that number to plummet farther. While most established families who have lived here for a while will stay, many young families, like mine were, will be deterred from moving into the district. And as my grade and the grades below me graduate, there will be nobody to fill the spots. This will only lead to farther funding cuts by the state and federal government. I am truly disappointed that my sisters will not get the same opportunities that I was afforded. I ask you to not go through with this plan, or at least reconsider many of the components of the plan. And as I look out here today, I see less students than you would expect. We know you've seen the petitions, we know you've seen the videos and the notes, but we feel that you are hearing us but not listening to us. So we just ask that you reconsider everything. Thank you for having me up here, and thank you for your time.
Dave Sturdy, you're on deck.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Leah Brock, and I am a parent of 3 students, one that recently graduated with honors and is doing wonderfully in college. I have an upcoming junior, and then I'll have an upcoming 6th grader. So the concept of the 6th grade being redone is something that takes a special part in my ear. And that's kind of what I want to speak about, is because I know so many of the people who signed up today are educators, people whose jobs are impacted specifically by some of the changes. But I by no means want to speak on behalf of parents, but just as a parent. And then also a part that kind of holds close to my heart, like Lydia. I'm a mental health professional, so I am a school counselor in a different district. So all that being said, I know that I've come to a couple board meetings in the past here and there, and as we were redeveloping and taking in new people, I tried to stay as informed as I possibly could, but I know as parents, a lot of this goes way over my head. And I know many of you are coming in from the same kind of a status as parents who just want to do well for their district. So I don't know where the breakdown in communication happened, but I keep going back to the early or the late start. I spoke to a lot of teachers from every building, and it seems like that concept was spoken on behalf of the board and was spoken on in the administration, but there were teachers who were absolutely clueless that that was something that was going to happen. And I know the word transparency comes up quite a bit, but I'm just confused as to how changes to this level have been put into place for maybe longer than we think they've been talked about, but we're just hearing now when we're under the gun, so to speak, as to make these changes happen, We never talked to these really, really smart people going into any of this. How can one person, as I understand it, maybe 3 people who prepared those numbers for us at the last board meeting, those ideas came from a very few amount of people. I think even Rolf, I can't pronounce his last name, but our superintendent said, you know, these are my ideas. So I was kind of flabbergasted as to how 1 to 3 people can make decisions on what they know, but not what all this audience and all the people in the community know. Some of the ideas that have come out of kind of left field, you know, some of the things we haven't really talked about, Canvas and closing the district office and moving people around, like those things weren't even touched on in the proposal because nobody asked. Like it was just kind of propelled upon us. So shame on me for not being informed. On behalf of parents in the audience or anybody online, let's not do that again. Let's stay more informed. Let's come to more meetings. So anyhow, I just want to speak on behalf of transparency and how come we never had these important conversations in August. If they knew they were coming, which it sounds like people had a very good idea that these things were coming, why are we talking about it with less than a month to spare? So that hurts because I know decisions have to be made and cuts will be made, but it's just blindsiding. So, you know, we appreciate you as board members. Again, you're elected, you know, we ask you to represent us, and I know so many of you, this is a decision that I can't even comprehend how burdensome it is, but we know you will do the best you can for our district. With the idea of numbers, though, I know some of the questions I asked on the Q&A, you know, were answered to the effect of, oh, well, that's what the state, you know, recommends, that's what the state does, yada, yada, yada. But things like test scores, for example, okay, the state minimum, is that adequate? Are we okay with mediocre with state tests? Are we okay with mediocrity when it comes to salaries and things like that? And if that's the case, then, you know, being mediocre with class sizes, for example, if that's the state recommendation and we're okay with having 27 kindergartners in a room with no aid, okay, then that's what we're asking our parents to live with. And I don't think that's fair to answer those questions with what the state is telling us is okay. Student counselor ratios, counseling to social work to student ratios, 1 to 500, 1 to 700, that is absolute insanity. I know that Lydia spoke on that just a little bit, but we cannot take the little people that we are developing into human beings, into you know, well-rounded adults, and think, oh, if we remove all these support systems, interventionists and things like that, that we're going to see the caliber of well-rounded students that we've been graduating these last couple years. So if mediocre is not okay when it comes to state tests, why is it okay with class sizes and other ratios? And I mean, I guess that's about it. So again, thank you very much. Parents, stay informed. Let's come to more of these meetings, please, and thank you. And staff, you have our heart.
Penny McCarty, you're on deck.
Hello, I'm David Sturdy. I've had members of my family in this school district for pretty close to 100 years, and really scary thought, to tell you the truth. But at certain times, things like this have come up forever. And you guys all know that as well as I do. And everyone puts their suggestion out there. And just remember, it is all open for discussion, and you guys know that, and you should keep that in mind. I mean, I'm really impressed by these people that have spoke to you, okay? They're all a whole lot better, more knowledgeable than I do. But it seems to me that they're speaking of something where there's not very much communication between upper level administration and staff. And that needs to be improved somehow, because we're not listening to our staff if we've heard all these things. I mean, they may have sent you emails and all that, but this should have come from your administrator, okay? It always has before. And, I mean, I sat in your place for too damn long. But just remember, you're the people in charge, nobody else, and you make the final decision. So don't let all this be just white noise out here. Look at it, detailed, everything. I mean, you got to cut something, I understand, but this isn't just white noise. This is real feelings, real truth, and everything like that. So thank you for letting me speak. Thanks.
After Penny, we're going to have Porter Raleigh.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for allowing us the opportunity to speak this evening. I'm actually not giving my own statement. I am presenting for my daughter, who is currently over at Pep Band and didn't know if she could step away. So this is pretty raw. She's a sophomore, but she has, like I'm sure a lot of her friends and a lot of the students that are here tonight, had a really rough couple of weeks and are dealing with a lot of emotion. And I'm even getting emotional thinking about it, so I apologize. But I gave my own statement, and thank you. I had a response on that. Thank you so much. My own statement was in support of Mr. Reynolds and the fine arts program that is so important to our family. But I'll go ahead and read for Carter. So she starts with, a block schedule is better than a regular schedule, and you don't just have to take my word for it, since it has been proven by multiple sources. Block schedules give students more time for their work, which means they are more likely to get assignments done. The schedule also gives the teachers more time to teach and puts less students in one classroom, allowing a better learning experience and more in-class time to ask questions and comprehend the material. Lastly, even though there are many more points to be made, a block schedule cuts down on bad behavior given the fact there are less passing periods, which is good because all of the passing periods with a regular schedule can be chaotic, and heightens in-class instruction for teachers because less time is lost in the beginning and end of class. If we cut block scheduling, then we cut out multiple different opportunities that students could be having. Due to stress of having your homework for all of your classes in one day, people will start dropping the clubs and extracurricular activities that they love doing so that they love doing, so they can stay at home, eyes glued to a screen, typing away, just to make tomorrow's deadline. The cutting of our block schedule is not supported by a single student here, nor should it be. I understand that we have to make cuts, but taking away the AB schedule would be detrimental to the high GPA someone is trying to achieve, that sports scholarship that someone is depending on, and the freedom of life outside of stressful schoolwork. Rochester has always valued high and successful grades as well as outstanding athletics, so why should that change now? Also, I feel like for a while now that the arts has been sort of on a back burner. Every time we have to let someone go, it takes many months to find someone new. Now, positions in the arts are being taken away from people who haven't even done anything wrong. The arts means so much to me, and these teachers, artists, and directors are the ones that keep me going and help me continue in my love for theater, for drawing, and so much more. Taking them away not only robs them of their jobs, but robs the students of learning opportunities as well. I love these guys and they love us. I know that is true, so it hurts my heart to have so many of them, to see any of them go. This doesn't just apply to the arts, though this applies to a lot of the teachers. I have teachers that I go to when school and life is just too much, and I know they listen. They joke around and I feel comfortable at school because of them. However, I know a decision has to be made and that things have to be cut, but you also need to know the emotional and educational effects you are making on these students. I respect you guys, and I know this is hard, but I thought you should see this from the point of view from a high schooler who would be severely affected by these cuts. Sincerely yours, Carter McCarty. Thank you.
And Porter will be our last speaker.
Hello, my name is Porter Rowley, and I'm a senior at Rochester High School. and a child of 2 former teachers and Rochester graduates. Tonight, my goal is to inform you about something that has been proposed to be taken away that would impact not only the student body, but also the staff at Rochester High School. The block schedule will have already been talked about twice, but I think it's important that we continue to talk about it because it is one of the most important parts of how our school works. It has allowed me and my fellow classmates to take hard, time-consuming classes, participate in extracurriculars outside of school, work jobs, and have a social life, while also being connected to our families. If the block schedule were to be taken away, it would make our homework and being able to work outside of school incredibly difficult. Participating in extracurriculars would be almost impossible, and taking challenging classes would be something no one would want to be doing. The workload we would be given would be insurmountable. It would also be much harder to learn a full lesson and comprehend what we have been taught in a shortened period. As a senior, the proposed budget cuts will not affect me. I will be in college by the time they take place. However, I believe it is very important that you hear from someone who has gone through all 4 years of high school, experiencing the block schedule, and who understands how harmful it would be to my fellow classmates and for future students at Rochester High School. While budget cuts are necessary, I truly hope that you will be able to keep the block schedule as it is an integral part of our Rochester High School. Thank you.
Do I have a motion to adjourn the February 10th, 2026 Board of Education Public Forum? Okay, is there somebody that didn't get a chance to sign up? Fine. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Ashley Horacek. I am a parent of a first grader and a sixth grader, and I was a little nervous to sign up, so thank you for allowing me this opportunity. We just moved to Rochester. This is our first year here. Last year, my daughter struggled greatly in school, and, she came home crying every day. This year, she's excelling, and she comes home happy every day, except the day that she found out that some of her teachers could lose her job. So I am just asking you, as a parent who sought for over a year to find a home in the Rochester School District to raise her children, to please do not cut the special education teachers, do not cut the social workers, and do not cut our classroom teachers who work so hard to make my children thrive in school. Thank you.
Was there anyone else?
Sorry. Thank you. I wasn't going to speak because I thought there would be more people that had better things to say than I did, but thank you. My name's Shelley Connor. I am a parent in this district. I'm also a truancy caseworker with the ROE. So I have a little different perspectives, and I have notes, but first of all, I want to say I have had a kid in this district since 2005. My oldest is now a teacher in high school in Texas because of her teachers here at Rochester, because of the block scheduling, because of the opportunities she was afforded by gaining those extra credits through those extra classes. So just to beat a dead horse a little bit, I would have you please not get rid of the block schedules for the opportunities for the students and the teachers as well. With that said, I do want to thank all of the teachers that are here. There's so many familiar faces. Most of these people have had all of my children in school. In addition to my oldest, I have a 2022 graduate who's getting ready to graduate from college and a junior that is still in the high school. I've been here to see lots of changes, and I know from personal experience how kids these days are a lot different, even from the point of my older children to my youngest now. These kids, they need their teachers. They need the structure. They need to get up and come to school every day. With the late start, that is going to impact your attendance rates. It is. Because they're going to be like, oh, every day's late start. You know, and so we'll see more truancy where the kids won't have that opportunity. And also with the social workers, these kids need the social workers. They need the support. In Truancy Review Board, most of the students have some sort of anxiety, depression, school anxiety, different things like that, that our interventionists and our social workers and even the teachers, if they don't have those strong relationships with those kids, they don't get those needs met. They aren't able to talk to somebody to talk through it, to be able to function and move forward, you know, and being successful in school and graduate. And I know the truancy rates in Rochester are nowhere near where they are in the surrounding area, but don't kid yourself. There's a lot of that going on here that is well hidden, that they need that extra support in schools. I propose that you let each building or grade come up with a plan to reduce costs on their own. As everybody has said, these teachers have a wealth of knowledge. They want what's best. All of us have moved into this district because of the schools. I know I did in 1999 for this as well. And so I encourage you to lean on all of the knowledge that you have and not reduce them, not cut them, because we all have a vested interest in wanting this to succeed. And we've seen the ebb and flow. My oldest children were some of the biggest classes to ever graduate in Rochester, and we saw it grow. I think like Grace's class started with 169, then graduated with 228, you know, so it does grow. And I would encourage the district to look forward, just from experience, I've seen that a lot of times, yes, it has happened with the technology, so important, especially in this day and age. You know, you have to have that. That's why people move here. But, you know, we have to be able to look, okay, what about the future? You know, the classes are so big. That's how we ended up with the intermediate school, you know, because we were growing. And it's going to ebb and flow, and it's going to go back up. It's not just going to just go away, which is why, you know, I would have you reconsider the closing of the 2-3 building as well, just for the space and the needs for the kids. Let's see. Oh, I think that's kind of it from my notes. But I do encourage you to look at the alternatives. Maybe start with the minimum, with those programs that they talked about. Canvas is redundant. Parent Square, not necessary. You know, there's other ways to communicate with us to get the word out there. And so I encourage you to look at some of the less impactful to staff and students, because reducing the staff impacts the students no matter how you look at it. And the smaller class sizes that we supposedly have now are needed because of the needs of the kids have changed so much. You know, it's just so different. And like, I know some of you have been in classrooms, but if you haven't, go sub for a day. Go, you know, hang out there for a while and actually see how these kids are, and nothing against kids, sorry guys, but, but you know, I mean, their needs are so much greater, and it's so different. So the more you increase it, the class size, the less that the students get, and it gives the teachers more, you know, there's 25 more different personalities of kids and learning styles that you have to deal with, along with the parents that go along with those. So I encourage you not to reduce the staff, take a step back, reduce the minimum that you need to, and then look at other ways of coming together with yourselves, with the community, with the teachers, with admin, and with students involved to come up with a plan to move forward. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Casey Ostrowski. I am a Rochester High School graduate, as well as a parent of a kindergartner, as well as 2 more that I'm hoping to send through this district. I just kind of want to touch base. I know you guys have been here and you've been listening to all of us talk about different things and same things and rehashing the same concepts. But I want to talk about teacher retention. I come from a very large group of educators in my family. I know what they have to go through on the daily basis. Now, none of my siblings work for the Rochester School District, but I know how hard our teachers work. Right now, we have a fairly good retention rate. Our teachers love it here because it is such a wonderful place to live. It's a wonderful place to raise children. It's a wonderful place to teach. My concern is that we are basing class sizes and teacher sizes and all of this off of numbers of our district not growing. We are setting ourselves up to not grow. So these classes, these sizes that we have, they are going to, they're going to cause issues for our teachers. But class sizes aren't just a number on a piece of paper, right? They determine how much individual attention each child receives. They determine how quickly our struggling students are noticed, and they determine how much time teachers actually have to teach instead of just manage. I don't know if any of you have stepped foot in class recently. I was lucky enough to be in my son's kindergarten class over this past December, and let me tell you, these class sizes are crazy already. They are an energetic bunch, and it's only going to get worse. I mean, these kids, as much as I love them and think they're all fantastic and wonderful, it gets crazy in those classrooms. And you're talking about adding how many more bodies into each of those rooms. I just don't think that's fair to the people that we're asking to take care of our most precious people in our lives. So I just really want you to take that into consideration. Think about our teachers. Think about the kind of burnout they're going to have with these increased numbers. And think about the longevity of what's coming with these decisions. I don't have an answer for your budget cuts. I don't know what $3 million looks like. I don't ever really want to know. I live in my paycheck to paycheck world, and I'm okay with that. I don't want to be in your shoes, and I'm glad I don't have to be. But I really want you to take into consideration what these teachers go through every single day, what kind of work they put in for us, and the outcome that we have with some of these kids that have graduated from this district. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kim Miller, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the World Language Department at the high school. If you know me, teaching at Rochester has been my dream my entire life because of teachers that I had here. They've inspired me to want to teach Spanish here because I knew the impact that I could have because they had it on me. And one of the proposed budget cuts is, unfortunately, my job. And I just beg you to really consider, because learning Spanish and learning German isn't just learning a language, it's learning a culture. It's opening doors for them to travel to 21 different Spanish-speaking countries, or I don't know how many German countries because I don't speak German. But cutting even one Spanish teacher or German teacher or whatever really limits their ability to open those doors. And also, I've started programs where we're teaching Spanish to the elementary kids, and I'm actively pursuing trying to expand that to other buildings. And if we cut that, then those programs could go away. And scientific studies show that the earlier you learn language, the easier it is. So if we cut a Spanish teacher, then we cut the junior high program, absolutely. And that makes it even harder for them to learn a language as it is. And it's really hard for some students. So I beg you to consider that. And I really want you to think about the impact that that could have on everyone. Thank you.
Hello, I am a senior at Rochester High School. Connor Goebel, by the way. And recently, whenever these plans were announced, my parents asked me, as we've heard a lot tonight, because they had moved into the district to be in this district. They didn't just move to Rochester. And they asked me if I were a parent moving to the Springfield area and had young kids, would I pick Rochester? And my answer had changed since I was younger. I look around at other schools and I don't see the advantage that we once had, which was the faith and the administration to a degree, not even that the administration is a problem, but just the faith in it. And then also the problem of potentially losing the teachers is a big deal for me because, you know, as I get closer to graduating, I, you know, am thinking about these teachers I'm not going to see on a daily basis any day or anymore, you know, and the impact they've had on me, not just educationally, but as a relationship, you know. I remember a lot of these people as, you know, more as friends than just teachers. And I think that's one way that Rochester has excelled in the past and has given us that prestige is the incredible staff we have at this school. And when you consider cutting people like that, you're considering more than just cutting an education like role. You're considering cutting a potential relationship in terms of friends or, you know, whatever they can be, you know, parental figures even. And the one thing I'll say that, you know, you're never going to look back at and miss a ton, you know, to comment on what Clem was saying earlier, is I'm never going to look back and miss Magic School or Canvas or anything like that. I don't have a relationship with any of that, but I have real relationships with these teachers that I value. And I think that that should be the last resort option. Thank you.
Mr. Spear?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Good evening, everybody. And thank you so much for hearing everybody tonight. We know you deeply care about this community, these schools. We trust that. And like Lisa said earlier, many of us are praying for you and know it's an impossible task you have. And honestly, have not been given hardly any time to really do it. So we just really appreciate all you're doing to help us through these really difficult times. I really appreciate what Connor just talked about, and that is, you know, what makes this place special is the people, and it's the people that make the programs, and it's the teachers that make the education and everything happen for these students. We wouldn't have the programs we have without our people. We wouldn't have the opportunities we have without our people, and I know you understand that. But that is our best resource, is our people. And so my main concern is just anything that we cut focuses on retaining as many of our excellent people as absolutely possible. This is my 22nd year teaching, and I've done all of that here in Rochester Schools, and I'm very proud to say that I have. I've always loved being a part of this excellent district. Couple thoughts I want to offer, and I know you will, but just to emphasize, considering ripple effects and really looking and digging into what a ripple effect will be of cutting something. You know, how does that impact down the road? How does it impact the related programs? Because none of this is obviously an isolated thing, right? A couple things that are just close to my world to speak about. Several have talked about Mr. Reynolds, all he does for our program. His title as auditorium manager really is not a great representation of all he has done and contributed. Before him, his position was titled the Fine Arts Coordinator. It was a position that Dr. Bertrand helped us acquire because frankly, at that time, Dennis Jones and I were drowning. We were drowning in paperwork, in fees and forms, and all of the extra things that happen in running an excellent fine arts program, in addition to the preparations for our classes and teaching bands and choirs and music theory and freshman transitions and concert choir and madrigals and all of the things. So having someone come aboard was a life. saver for us. I mean, I can speak for myself, that my mental and physical health were not good in the years leading up to that. And having someone come aboard, thank you for Dr. Bertrand's adding that, really made my job a lot more sustainable and doable, especially as my family is growing and I have twins that are coming into this district next year as freshmen and are very active. And I want to be dad. I want to get to do those things. But having teammates and having people to come alongside and excellent parents and excellent staff was what's going to allow me, and like many of my colleagues, to keep doing what we do the way we do it. People envy our fine arts program. They envy what we can do. They envy that I have as many boys in the choir as girls, which is so unusual. I know this is a very niche thing to talk about, but it's so unusual. My colleagues are very jealous of that. That starts because of Dave McCafferty. That starts because when in the middle school level, we have a full-time music staff that gets kids involved. When kids are not involved in 4th through 6th grade, it is very hard for me to get them in 7th. It's very hard for me to get them in 8th. Sometimes they come back as freshmen because they wanted to study hall in junior high, but that's a very small number. And I can do what I can do, and Chris can do what he can do because of the involvement of kids and the mass and the community and the people. There are parents here in this room, sitting at this table, in these seats, that came to our schools because of our fine arts program, that literally moved their families here. Expecting that we can keep the level of excellence that we have on a full-time reduction of staff in our department is unrealistic. Might look possible on paper from switching around some people to different places, but there is no replacing the programs that Dave McCafferty did without a full-time staff. There's no replacing the lessons that he adds. What happens to the band program if we don't have someone in his role to be the band assistant? That is a class of 80, 90 kids some years. What's going to happen? How can Chris manage that? I'm already managing 62 kids in junior high every day, and that's a lot. They're great. I love it. I love their energy, but it's a lot. We already have a lot on our plates. Moving us around, moving Chris down to other places, things that it does not work, maybe on paper, but it does not work in our lives, and it will not work to keep our excellence that we have. To me, not considering rehiring a position for Dave McCafferty also is a big slap in the face to someone who has given basically his entire life to this community, who has built a wonderful middle school music program, who is Rochester's Citizen of the Year just a year or two ago, has been our Teacher of the Year award winner. And it not is just about Dave, but he is such an amazing guy. And to say that basically we're saying that what he's done doesn't matter if we don't hire someone back in his position. And at least that's how we feel. That's how I feel, as what it looks like, that we're saying that didn't matter. And that's obviously not true. And every student, well, not every, but most students that I have got to work with, it's because of the work of Dave McCafferty and people like Kathy Parker and people like Tawny Roberts and the people before them, Belinda Sexton, and the people in our district. We have a strong program throughout. We have these long tenures of teachers. It is so unusual. And in every department, we have people that come here to stay because we have such an excellent school in so many ways. And so I just want to conclude, just please remember that our best resource is our people, that people are the programs. We say we're not going to cut programs, but if we cut people, we are cutting programs. Thank you for all you do. And that's all I have to say tonight. Thank you. Appreciate it.
She thanks you. So this is Dr. Sam Sullivan. I'm asking the board to urgently reconsider the proposed budget reduction plan due to its serious and well-documented risk to student learning, safety, and long-term district outcomes. Increasing class sizes in grades K to 3 directly contradicts decades of educational research. Early elementary students require small class environments to develop foundational literacy, numeracy, and social emotional skills. Research consistently shows that class size increases in early grades result in lower reading and math achievement, with the most significant negative effects for students who are already at risk academically. Larger class sizes also reduce teachers' ability to identify learning difficulties early, when intervention is most effective and least costly. At the same time, the plan increases the number of students in school buildings while reducing mental health staff. This combination creates a predictable and dangerous outcome. National and state level data show rising rates of anxiety, behavioral challenges, and trauma-related needs among students. As student numbers increase, behavioral incidents increase as well, especially when access to counselors, social workers, and psychologists is reduced. Fewer mental health professionals means fewer preventative supports, more classroom disruptions, increased disciplinary referrals, and a heavier burden placed on teachers who are not trained to provide mental health services. Equally concerning is the reduction of intervention services for struggling students. Evidence shows that early academic interventions significantly reduce the need for future special education services and improve graduation outcomes. When intervention access is reduced, students fall further behind, achievement gaps widen, and districts ultimately face higher long-term costs through remediation, retention, and special education placements. These cuts do not eliminate need, they simply delay support until it becomes more expensive and less effective. Taken together, these reductions create a compounding effect. Larger classes, fewer behavioral and mental health supports, and limited intervention access. This combination undermines learning conditions, accelerates staff
As Connor said, I consider some of these teachers to be my friends and help me through hard problems. The teachers have been my coaches or just my peers in general that have helped me through so much. The social workers, I know I have gone to so many for help with personal problems that aren't just for school. Things might be going on outside of school. It doesn't have to be with school, but we need that help. If kids aren't able to get that help outside of school, they may not get the help that they need through anything. They might not be able to afford it. They might just not be able to access it very well. And some people they're not comfortable talking to if they're strangers. The people at the school, they shouldn't be strangers, and they're not. We are all family here and friends, at least I think. but everybody should have the opportunity to be able to talk to people and have that opportunity. And me personally, as a ongoing senior, the block schedule is also very important to me, because when I have that much time with my teachers, I grow such a stronger relationship with them. I know in junior high, I had a strong relationship with my teachers, but I didn't have as a strong relationship because I wasn't with them as much for so long. And as again, the teachers would have to change their entire curriculum, which I know I've heard is very hard for them. And being in the school with all of this going on, I have felt and seen the sadness go around. You don't just see it or hear about it. You feel it in the air. You can feel it in you that something's just not right. And having that, it's just not good for everybody else at the school and the students. It affects everybody here. And that's kind of all I want to say. But please consider everybody here, what we are saying isn't just what we want to say, it's what we need you to hear. So thank you.
Mr. Butcher?
Takes me longer to get up here than it used to. My name is Mark Butcher. I went to school here. I graduated from here. I taught here for 30 years. I've spent more time in a Rochester school building than anywhere except my home. And I know that I wasn't prepared to say anything, but I think I'm prepared now. I know that pride is one of the 7 deadly sins, but as Dizzy Dean said, if you can back it up, it ain't bragging. Now, so I'm just going to tell you some stories. I'm going to lay some stories out there for you to think about, for you to consider. One year, we were ordering new science books, and we made our selection, and there was somebody on the school board who didn't like the selections we'd made. Dennis Canny was the principal, and he said, would you talk to them? I said, okay. So I talked to the school board member, and I said, I don't care, you can pick any book you want. I don't mean to be arrogant, but I am the book. Doesn't matter. I know what I'm doing. When I was teaching here, we had a lot of dual credit classes. And one time I was at a meeting out at Lincoln Land, and a professor out there was passing around an article that dual credit wasn't up to par with face-to-face college classes. Well, I took offense at that, and I did the statistics. You know, at that point, the subject I taught, the physics 2, the dual credit physics, at that time there were 113 kids that had taken that class. And this was 4 years after the fact, so they should have been on schedule to have graduated. So 113, I was able to track down 112. There's one girl but out of the 112, there were 107 that had graduated from college, and many of them had gone on to graduate school and professional school. So I had my ammunition. I gave it to one of the vice presidents at Lincoln Land at that time, Eileen Tapati, Had 2 kids in school here. I gave it to her. I gave it to Dr. Charlotte Warren, the president of the school. I gave it to Dennis Canny. He gave it to the school board. I gave it to Sandy Hendricks, who was one of the guidance counselors. And I'm retired now. I can talk freely. I gave it to Sandy, and I told her what it was, and I told her what motivated me to do that. And she looked at it and she said, "Wow, I never want to piss you off." I said, "Sandy, those are words to live by." Okay, 107 out of 112 kids went on to get their college degrees. Now, some of them were still working on it and had to slow down a little bit because of finances and things like that. Okay, now, get out of my field, out of science. The English teachers. Our son Jonathan was for a while was an adjunct instructor at Lincoln Christian University. And when John would be grading papers, he would cover up the names so that whoever wrote the paper, that he wouldn't have a bias there. And he said, "Dad, I can always tell a Rochester kid. Their writing is so much superior to everybody else's." Our son Matt and his good buddy Henry Jansen were at Lincoln Land together and in a history class. And the instructor said, "Well, you've got to write a 4-page paper." And these kids from other schools were complaining, "Oh, 4-page paper, 4-page paper." And Matt and Henry looked at each other and said, 4 pages? That's nothing compared to what they made us do in high school. So these kids are well prepared. They are prepared. I had a wonderful senior English teacher. She was an older woman, just like everybody's grandma. And I thought I might want to be an English teacher. And I talked to my physics teacher, and he said, "Are you crazy? You know how much they have to grade? Pick something else." And so I did. And when I got my PSAT scores, I was in the 97th percentile in math and in the 74th percentile in English. So I thought, okay, I see where this is going. But there is something. My mom kept my PSAT scores. And, you know, there's your raw score, and then you've got a scale there to figure out what percentile you fit into. Well, this was 1968. There was a different standard for boys and girls. Girls were not supposed to be good at math, so they were scaled a little bit differently. Graduate school, I did a little bit of research on that. Why do girls score lower on their math tests? And I did, looked at the research, hormones, left brain, right brain, all that kind of stuff. And the conclusion is they will live up to our expectations. There's nothing that says that girls can't do well in math. I remember sitting up on this stage on awards day one particular year, and Rhonda Goad was announcing the math award winners. They're all girls. They're all girls. Goes against the trend there. Okay, now, when we first started block schedule, Tom Bertrand explained it a little bit to us that within the block there, we were supposed to give them a little time to work on homework. Now, think about before block schedule. Kids might have a study hall, and I had study halls. Now, suppose a student comes up to me with a question about their Spanish. I can't help them with that. Okay, the Spanish teacher may not be able to help them out with a physics question. Okay, but if They are in the classroom where the person who teaches that subject has made that assignment and they have a question, then they can get some help. Okay, now, I was here at the open house for the new science rooms. They're fantastic, they're wonderful. And Amy was gracious enough to invite me to the ribbon cutting. And I was honored to be there for that. But it is not the classroom. It's the teacher in the classroom. Now, we've got all these lab facilities. How do you have kids do lab experiments in a 45-minute period? You explain it. You get everything set up. You got a few minutes to do some kind of experiment, and then you got to tear it down because the next class is coming in that may not be doing the same experiment. So I don't really have a conclusion. I've just told you about some stories. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have one in the back. Reminder, please start by letting us know who you are.
Hi, I am John Watson. A lot of them call me Johnny, or pretty much everyone. I've been working here since my first job ever. I'm a custodian here, cleaning everything, you know. First job after graduation, not only, sorry, I'm nervous, but not only do I love everyone here, they inspire me to do better and to keep going. And I love everyone, and that's the whole reason why I'm still here. Not only do the teachers deserve to be here, they also inspire the students to get better and be more brave. So consider everyone who stood up here, listen to their, what they said, consider everything, and yeah.
Okay, now, do I have a motion to adjourn the February 10th, 2026 Board of Education Public Forum?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.